Welcome to another episode of Outrage Science Bites, where we explore the mechanisms of outrage culture and how it impacts our lives in bite-sized episodes. I'm your host, David Beckmeyer, and this week we're focusing on moving forward, how we can navigate through the intensity of outrage culture and come out on the other side, stronger and more resilient. Today's episode is all about resilience, specifically how we can cultivate it to withstand the never-ending waves of outrage that seem to be coming at us from every angle. Whether it's from the media, social media, or even within our own circles, outrage has a way of seeping into our daily lives. So how do we protect ourselves? The first step to build resilience is recognizing the power of emotional regulation. Outrage culture thrives on emotional reactivity. It's designed to get us to respond immediately, often without thinking. But we don't have to play that game. Practices like mindfulness, deep breathing, or simply stepping away from the screen can help us pause and assess how we feel. That moment of pause gives us space to decide how we want to respond, if we even want to respond at all. As our experts have said, when we slow down, we regain control. Next, we need to acknowledge the role of boundaries, both mental and digital. Outrage thrives in environments where boundaries are blurred. Social media can make it feel like every issue is our issue and every crisis demands our immediate attention. But this is overwhelming and unsustainable. Setting boundaries like limiting social media use or choosing not to engage with inflammatory content is crucial for protecting our mental health. Another strategy is finding your tribe, not your echo chamber. Echo chambers feed outrage by reinforcing our existing beliefs and shutting out opposing views. But real resilience comes from building diverse support networks. People who challenge us in healthy ways, who don't always agree, but are still willing to engage thoughtfully. The more we surround ourselves with nuance and diverse perspectives, the less vulnerable we become to the simplistic black and white narratives that outrage culture thrives on. At the same time, we can practice cognitive reframing. Outrage thrives on us seeing the world through the lens of hostility, us versus them, right versus wrong. Cognitive reframing allows us to shift our perspective and see situations from multiple angles. Instead of reacting with anger, we can ask ourselves, what else might be going on here? What's the bigger picture? This reframing not only helps lower our emotional temperature, but also makes us more compassionate, more open to listening, and more resilient. Finally, embracing healthy conflict is essential. Conflict is inevitable, but outrage doesn't have to be. Learning to disagree without vilifying the other side by focusing on shared values, listening with empathy, and avoiding personal attacks can turn conflict into a source of growth rather than division. Cultivating resilience against outrage culture isn't about shutting down or disengaging. It's about learning to navigate the world of outrage without letting it consume us. It starts with being mindful of outrage-driven manipulation and appreciating when we're falling into the outrage spiral. Thanks for listening to this episode of Outrage Science Bites. In the next episode, we'll talk about the cynicism trap and how distrust is eroding our confidence in everything around us. Stay tuned. If you enjoyed today's episode, you may want to check out the long-form Outrage Overload podcast. Visit outrageoverload.net for past episodes, links, and contact information.